back. I'm Cathy, and if you're new to my channel, I do food and product reviews, and today is my second CopyCat recipe, and it is a good one. It is Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. I love cinnamon. Oh, it smells amazing. I love going to the mall. I can just smell it. You're just going around the corner, you know, Cinnabon's near. It's so good. So I'm gonna make a batch of cinnamon rolls. I'll compare it to the real thing. And also, I found these at Walmart yesterday. These are in the freezer section. So cinnamon swirl rolls topped with a Cinnabon signature frosting. We'll see how these compare to the real thing and the CopyCat. I made these like 20 years ago. I was making them a lot and I just stopped making them, so I haven't made them since. I know working with yeast can be a little intimidating. My cousin had actually texted me yesterday, wanted to know when I was gonna post this recipe because I think she loves cinnamon more than I do. But I sent her the recipe and she's like, you lost me at dissolve the yeast. So I'm gonna make this simple. So a lot of the recipes call for active dry yeast, and this you have to dissolve in milk, and it needs to be between 105 and 110 degrees. And then you have to let that bloom for about 10 minutes. Well, I did it that way. Like I've said, I've made these like 4 or 5 times now. I've done it a different way each time, but I think the last one turned out pretty well. So I didn't compare it to a real Cinnabon, but they were still really good cinnamon rolls. So what I have used on the last 2 batches was this rapid rise yeast. And this one you can put directly into the flour. You don't have to dissolve this in the milk. The only difference is when you do add the milk needs to be between 120 and 130 degrees. So that was the difference. And I don't want this to be intimidating. There are a lot of steps, but they're pretty simple. So hopefully this will make it a little easier for you. It's one less step, dissolving the yeast. So that's one thing that I've done differently. And also, some recipes will say butter, some will say margarine, or either or. I have used both, and most of the time I always prefer the butter, but for some reason I prefer margarine in this recipe. I don't know why, but I do. So save yourself some money and use some margarine, because, and don't try, and I use whole milk too. Don't try to cut any corners. It's a cinnamon roll. It's ooey gooey, fatty, it's delicious, so don't skip corners. It's, just enjoy it. I'm not saying eat it all the time, but if you're gonna make it, make the real thing and make it as good as possible. That's my opinion anyway. All right, so let's get started. So this is 4 cups of all-purpose flour. I have 1 packet of the yeast. If you're unfamiliar with how yeast comes, it's 3 to a pack. It's in the baking aisle and it's usually at the top shelf. So I'll put that right in with the flour. It's a 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/3 of a cup of melted margarine or butter, whichever you prefer. And then you have 1 cup of milk. Just want to make sure the milk is between 120 and 130. All right, it's at 123, so that works. Just gonna pour it in here. And I'm gonna mix it all up. And if you have a mixer, you can, like with a dough hook, feel free to use it. I just kind of wanted to show you that you don't need any special equipment to make this. Just lightly dust your surface. Of course, make sure it's clean. Now dump that out. And don't let this intimidate you at all. It's really easy. All right, just kind of pulling it in and pushing it out and turning. It's like 1/4 of a turn each time. Just need to, you don't want it to feel sticky anymore. It's where it all comes together nicely and it doesn't stick to anything. I think that looks pretty good. Let's bring this back. All right, so I have a bowl here. Just gonna spray the bowl. Stick. Put it in the bowl. And just just cover it with the towel. I'm getting ready for fall already, I guess. So I'm just gonna put this in my oven. It's not really that warm, but just if you have a warm place somewhere where you can set it. Just let it set for about an hour, maybe a little more, until it rises. So while you're waiting on your dough, you can go ahead and make your filling, which is super simple. It is a cup of brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar, and 2.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Just put them together, and you can just mix it all together with your hand or a spoon if you'd rather. I just think it's easier with your hand. This way you can break up if there's any lumps of brown sugar, you can break those up. Also, for the filling, you need 1/3 of a cup of butter or margarine. Once again, I am using margarine. Doesn't say that anywhere on that, but it is margarine. And you want that softened because you're gonna spread it. Once you roll out the dough, you're gonna spread it, you're gonna smear it all over. It's kind of fun, really. Filling is finished. You can move on to the icing. You need 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, 8 tablespoons or a stick of butter or margarine softened. I'm using margarine again. 2 ounces of cream cheese, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So dump it all in. And for this one, I am going to use a hand mixer just to make it a little easier. You could do it by hand if you wanted. It would just take a little time. So see if hopefully I won't make a mess. I guess I have to plug it in. That's a good. I'm gonna plug it in now. That'll help. Okay, now let's see if I can not make a mess. Should have added a little bit at a time, but the powdered sugar, but that's all right. So yes, I should have creamed my butter or my margarine and my cream cheese together first and then added the rest, the powdered sugar slowly, but I didn't, but it still worked out fine. Just would have been a little less messy had I done it the other way. Oh well, it worked out. So it's been a little over an hour, and see it. It's not quite doubled, but don't worry so much about that. It will work, I promise. All right, so let's roll it out. So done a little more flour. Wrap it out. That. You're gonna want to roll this out to 21 by 16, I believe. See what my measurements are. I don't know. All right, let's see. Ooh, a little wide. 22 by 16. That part I got right. All right. This is the fun part. You can like play with your food. This is 1/3 of a cup of margarine. So just kind of place blobs of. So again, you can use a knife if you'd like to spread it, but I think it's just easier. And it's fun. You just want to rub it all over. Make sure you get it all covered. Ooh. I guess this is just easier than using a knife or a spatula. Have your filling now. Spread this all over it. If you see any lumps, kind of break them up. So that looks good. Now we just roll it up. Kind of flip it like that. Keep it all in here. Just slowly, just want to keep all the cinnamon in there, brown sugar. It gets easier once the gets easier once you get along here. This dough wasn't exactly perfect as far as the thickness of it. It looks like it's a little thicker down here than it is in here, but trust me, it's okay. It's okay. Pieces, so I'm gonna cut it in half. Doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect. Spray my pan. I bought this pan. You can use a sheet pan or whatever you want. I just bought this at Dollar Tree just because it had a lid. So when I'm done, I can just cover them up. All right. So let's kind of push them down a little bit. So yeah, they're all not the same size, but that's all right. So if you want them even bigger, kind of more like they do at Cinnabon, you could probably get 6 or 8 out of it. I bake this for about 10-12 minutes on 400 degrees. So these turned out, they look amazing, smell amazing. I end up baking these probably closer to 15-18 minutes. It's up to you. Some people like them a little underdone. I think these are somewhere, I mean, they seem done. You know how the ones at Cinnabon, if you've had Cinnabon, like the centers are a little underdone sometimes. So this could be a lot of frosting. So just look at that, yum. It's best to put this on hot, kind of like melts down into the cinnamon roll. So good. I could probably eat all these. And if you don't like as much icing, you don't have to put it on. This is a lot. There it is. All right, so let me dish one out and I'll compare it to the real thing. All right, here's the real thing. Yum. Here's the one I made, the CopyCat. Like I said, not as big, but see all the flavors. And this one here is the frozen one, frosted sweet swirls. So we'll see how these two compare to the real thing. Before I try them, I wanted to show you how these come. There's 6 in a box, and you can just heat them up for 30 seconds. It comes in a little wrapper. I'll take it out of the wrapper. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. So if you wanted your cinnamon roll to be more like the real Cinnabon, the recipe is probably gonna make maybe 3 this size. So this is a bit much, but we'll see. Let me try the real one first. I haven't had one of these in a long time. It's been years. All right, frosting. Holy goodness. On to the CopyCat one. Inside here, pick it up. Layers of cinnamon. So good. All right, I'm going in. Yummy. Now the little frozen things. What if I just pull it apart? Maybe I'll just use a fork. Okay, there you go. Okay, the CopyCat one is the best. Not even gonna lie, it's not even close. These are amazing. I don't know the amount of cinnamon that's in there, the texture of the dough. I like it all better. I mean, I'm not saying the Cinnabon is bad. You know, I haven't had one in years, but this one, now this box of 6 was $9.99. Not worth it. I like the canned cinnamon rolls better than that. It's not a cinnamon. I don't know, there's a taste in there I don't like. Let me see how it compares to. I mean, the texture of the dough is different between the two of them. This is, I don't know how to describe it. Here's the real Cinnabon. And this one is just like pieces. And I'm not saying they're saying this one is the same, but it's basically supposed to be the same flavor in the cinnamon. So for me on the frozen one, there's too much dough and not enough cinnamon. And the dough isn't as soft. Look at that. Look how good that looks. See it? Just the layers. Yum. This looks like a cinnamon roll. Anyway, so of the 10 batches, just kidding, of the about 5 batches that I made, I honestly think this one was the best. And I do recommend baking them in a pan like this, not on a sheet pan. With the sheet pan, the sides seem to cook more than the rest of it. So this way, because they're all touching, it just stays softer. So basically, this video is to compare the CopyCat to the original. So honestly, I think it's better than the original. It's a little different. I think the cinnamon is a little different, and just the texture of the dough. So it's funny, even though they call it a CopyCat recipe, it's a better recipe. Shh. No, but, and these, like I said, these, I wouldn't waste your money on. $10 for 6. That's a bit crazy. One cinnamon roll, the Cinnabon, is $3.99. All the ones I made for, you know, especially if you're using margarine, probably under $5, I'm sure. I know this takes more work than going to Cinnabon to get one, but it's worth it. It's so good. And also, you could freeze these before you bake them. And if you just want to pull a couple out and let them sit in the refrigerator overnight and bake them the next day, you could do that. Because I have done that before. It's been years ago, but I have done that before. And I don't want to toot my own horn, but these are pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. So don't let all the steps intimidate you, or the yeast, or if you're used to using yeast and like the active dry yeast, feel free to use that. Just for me, the rapid rise, putting it in there, not having to worry about letting it dissolve in the milk, was much easier for me. I think they turned out great. So yeah, I'm kind of happy they turned out better than the real thing. So that kind of makes me happy. If you love cinnamon rolls, I hope you give it a try. It is super easy, but let me know in the comments below if you do. Let me know how it goes. All right, and that brings me to the question of the day. Made me think, Cinnabon, the smells in them all. What are 3 smells, food smells, that you love? Mine have to be cinnamon rolls, chocolate chip cookies, and bread. Smell of bread baking. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, let me know in the comments below your 3 favorite food smells. Not easy to say. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please think about hitting that red subscribe and the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.